Hey, fifth graders. So today in math, the moving decimal rule is going to return. And you might be a little mad at me after this lesson because I've been making you multiply decimals the hard way. And I promise there's a reason. And the reason is that it's important for you to have an idea of how much the value of those decimals will be and what happens when they multiply so that you can know if your answer makes sense or not. So, with that being said, here is the easy way. We're going to talk about the moving decimal rule. So this rule tells us that you can move the decimals before you do a multiplication problem to make your numbers whole numbers, multiply with any strategy you know, and then put the decimal back in at the end. Y voy a repetirlo una vez en español porque es muy importante. So, la regla del decimal móvil nos dice que puedes mover los decimales antes de hacer un problema de multiplicación para hacer que los decimales se conviertan en números enteros. Después vas a multiplicar como normal con cualquier estrategia que conozcas y luego al final volver a poner el decimal. So, let's see an example. Let's say I'm doing 400ths times 2/10. So first I'm going to move this decimal 2 times to make my number 4 wholes. And I'll move this decimal 1 time to make that number 2 wholes. And we all know 4 times 2 equals 8, easy peasy. So I just multiplied like it was a regular whole number. Now I see that I moved my decimal point 1, 2, 3 times to get whole numbers. So when I'm done, I have to take this decimal point after 8 wholes and I have to move it 1, 2, 3 times back. So my decimal point will be here. These empty spaces, I'm going to fill with zeros to show the value of this number. So I took 4 hundredths times 2 tenths, and my answer was 8 thousandths. Because as you saw when we were multiplying with the blocks, when you multiply decimals, your answer actually gets smaller because you're taking a decimal of a decimal. So I moved my decimal point out 3 times, and I had to move it back 3 times. So my final answer is 8 thousandths. And these zeros are really important. Having this decimal point here is key because it tells me 8 thousandths, not 8 wholes. Super different. So today in the homework, you're going to show how you move the decimal. So I'll show you a quick example. So let's say I'm doing this and I'm doing 11 hundredths. So I have to move the decimal point 2 times to make it a whole number, times 9 hundredths. So again, I have to move that decimal point 2 times to make it a whole number. Now I know from my times tables that 9 times 11 is equal to 99. Now I'm going to have to move the decimal point back 1, 2, even more. Let me get myself some more space here. 3, 4 times. Because I moved my decimal point 1, 2, 3, 4 times at the beginning, I have to move it 4 times at the end. And again, I'm going to fill those extra spaces with some zeros. You might have to make your arrows a little shorter to make it fit nicely if you're really wanting to be a perfectionist about this. It's okay with me if you just have the right number of arrows and your answer makes sense. So my decimal point goes here. So I have these 4 arrows showing that I moved my decimal point back 4 times at the end because I moved it out 4 times at the beginning. So that's what you're going to do for the following problems. You're going to move the decimal point with the red arrows, multiply the whole numbers, and then move the decimal point back with the blue arrows to show your final answer and where the decimal point goes. In the second part, I actually already did the math for you. All you have to do is use the moving decimal rule to show where these numbers should go. So that is the moving decimal rule, o la regla del decimal móvil. We're going to be practicing it this week, and we're going to see that we can use it for a lot of different things. Let's get started.